The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army. And now, ladies and gentlemen,
we are now about to witness the truth.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. It is Tuesday, August 2nd, 2016. Thank you for joining us. A lot happening in the news. Korryn Gaines, we want to talk about her tragic death. We'll talk about that. Also, some new polls for Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Bill Bratton in New York has resigned, stepped down, and there's been a replacement. We want to discuss that along with some other news. And, of course, as always, I want to get you in on the conversation, 857-600-0518. We'll start taking calls right at 8:30. At 8:30, feel free to call in and discuss any of the topics that we're discussing. First, let me put a pause here and a pin here and actually apologize to a guest that I had come on, and we did the entire interview, and we recorded it. Dr. Jeremy Tootin, he is a candidate. Actually, today is his primary, and, technology being technology, I lost his video. So he is going to come back on the show, but I just wanted to mention that because, I hate when that happens. I love supporting local candidates, candidates running for Senate and whatever they're running for. So Dr. Jeremy Tootin, thanks so much for your patience. We'll get you on the show, and definitely support what you're doing, or at least give the audience an opportunity to see if they want to support you. I also want to take a moment to thank our latest patrons, Denise Morrison M. Thank you so much for your pledge, as well as Sebastian C. Thank you so much for your pledge. Two latest patrons. We can't do it without you. So if you like the Benjamin Dixon Show and you like what we're doing over at the Progressive Army, if you want to be a part of the Progressive Army, a lot of people are like, well, what's the Progressive Army? Well, the Progressive Army is still solidifying into what the Progressive Army is going to be. But what the Progressive Army originally started off as was really us. Those of you who watch the show, those of you who listen to the show, and those of you who want to join in the conversations, we are the Progressive Army. So thank you for supporting. Go to patreon.com/the BPD show and become a patron. So I want to say all that at the top because, I don't know. Where do you start with this story with Korryn Gaines? So let me just start with the details. That's probably going to be best. It's another tragic story out of Baltimore. Made even more tragic because of her son being present. Korryn Gaines, 3 police officers involved. She was holding her 5-year-old son, and the police entered looking for another resident at her address. They were not there for Korryn Gaines, according to Wesley Lowery of the Washington Post. But once they arrived, there was a standoff that lasted several hours. I mean, I believe from 9:30 in the morning to 3 o'clock before they actually shot and killed her. When they came into the address, Gaines was sitting with her child in her lap and a shotgun in her hand. Now, well, I'll give you some more details. So after the standoff, she told them to leave or she would kill them. They opened fire and subsequently killing her and injuring the 5-year-old son. This happened in Baltimore County at her residence. And again, they arrived around 9:20 in the morning, and the shooting actually occurred around 3 p.m. So here's a quote: perceiving not only her actions, but from the police department, perceiving not only her actions, but the words she used, we discharged 1 round at her and she fired several rounds back at us. We fired again at her, striking and killing her. Tragically, in this circumstance, the child that was also in the dwelling was struck by a round, Police Chief Jim Johnson said during a news conference on Monday night. Gaines is the 9th black woman shot and killed by police so far in 2016. according to the Washington Post database tracking fatal police shootings. So here, and actually, let me play a little footage of the encounter. This is actually footage that she was streaming online, and so this actually was right before she was shot. So you don't see the shooting, but you can hear some of the conversation. So let's listen in. And you can hear the baby in the background, the 5-year-old. And in the background, you can see the police officer standing in the corridor, heavily armored in body armor. Basically, they're SWAT. Looks like SWAT. And so you can't see it or hear it on this particular video. It's actually a second video that I'm looking for, that she's actually having a conversation with her son, explaining what's getting ready to happen. This wasn't her first encounter with the police. Actually, she has documented multiple accounts of what she considered to be harassment by the police. She captured a lot of it on video. This video is something that happened earlier in the year, where she is explaining to her son what's about to happen and why she needs him to continue recording the video. So let's listen into this.
They give you this camera, and I want you to make sure you record all of this. Okay? They're going to try to fight me. Do you understand? And I want you to record every part. Do you understand?
Yes. So there's quite a few videos like this. There's another video. Let me see if I have that. Let's see if I actually have that. 1, 2. No, I don't have the third video, where she's talking to the police officer, essentially saying, if you lay your hands on me, you're going to have to kill me. You know, she's saying, and this is the same continuation of this video. She's saying, if you lay your hands on me, you're going to have to kill me. You're going to have to murder me. I guarantee that. Then there's another video where she's holding her little girl. I believe the little girl is around 2 or 3 years old, and the police officers are standing at her door, her car door, and essentially they're trying to wait for her to get out the car upon demand. She didn't get out the car, so essentially they took the baby out of her hand and snatched her out the car. A couple of questions come to mind. You know, why was she stopped so frequently that she would have so many different videos of different encounters with the Baltimore police? That's one. Number two, they were serving a warrant. I believe the warrant, I don't want to misspeak, but I believe the warrant was for a misdemeanor. So how did they go from a misdemeanor warrant, serving a misdemeanor warrant, to calling out basically the SWAT team? Now, if they knocked on the door and she's sitting there with a gun, okay, that could set off the alarms. But, you know, do they know if she has the right to own that gun? It is her home. It's her residence. So how did this escalate? There's not a lot of answers here. There's just more questions than anything else. So we don't know how it escalated to the point where the police officers called out the SWAT team. We do know that it was her home. We do know that they were not there for her. And we also know that they were issuing a warrant for, I believe, a misdemeanor, but don't quote me on that. I'll take that last one off the table because I'm not 100% sure. But I do know that they were not there to arrest someone who was violent. They did not come there for a standoff. And so to that end, you know, I have no idea how this escalated, but it does seem to be apparent that Korryn believed that the police officers were out to get her, that the police officers were harassing her, that she was a target of the police officers. She documented it on the internet. She made multiple posts about it. She had all sorts of statements online about this harassment. And the real question is, what is the cause of this perception? You know, why does she believe that? Was it real harassment? Was it just her feeling? Was she mentally unstable and believed that the police were after her? Because that's not beyond the realm of possibilities, right? Let's not tiptoe around it. You know, not everyone who believes the police are after them have legitimate reason to believe that, but some people do. We don't know. All I know is at the end of the story, she's dead, and her 5-year-old son was not only there to witness it, but he was also injured in the middle of it, which makes a tragic situation even more tragic. Now, here's the only bit of commentary that I really have about this, because I don't have enough information to say one way or the other. The only thing that I really have to say about this is I effing hate the internet. I hate it because it has hyper polarized the conversations, and it has accelerated the conversations to the point where before anyone knows anything, everyone has drawn a concrete conclusion of what happened on both sides of the equation. You know, some people are concluding that this is just another example of the corruption and the abuse of Baltimore police. This is another example of police not valuing black lives. Therefore, the first thing they want to do is shoot and kill a black person. That is not without merits, right? But we don't have the information. The other side, everyone accelerated to say, oh, this is just another black thug that was using her child as a shield, which the police officers have already stated there is no evidence to say that, to conclude that she used her son as a shield. She was holding her son in her home, in her lap. But because the other side is so desperate for a narrative that's going to confirm that bias that they have, they're willing to forget about any concrete evidence and just go exactly to the things that, matter of fact, there was an article, what really happened in the Korryn Brown shooting on conservativesomething.com. Like, really, if you knew, then the police should be there with you right now, investigating you, helping, asking you questions about how this happened. But all they've done is taken a scenario that they want to conclude that this woman was a thug, that this woman did not value her child, this woman was violent against the police officers for absolutely no reason, and we do not know that. The only thing I know is that this son is without a mother. And not only is the son without a mother, but the son had to witness the mother's death. And the son is 5 years old. I have a 5-year-old. We kind of dismiss this as being, some people dismiss this as he's a kid, he'll grow up, he won't really remember it. I have a 5-year-old. He remembers everything. He absorbs every moment. The most important thing to him is his dad and his mom, probably in that order. If I hope my wife's not listening, but that's the most important. So my son right now, putting myself in the shoes of this woman who was killed, my son would be traumatized. Anybody's child would be traumatized for the rest of their life. But because we're so quick to push political narratives, we are quick to dehumanize a real human tragedy. We're so quick to just gloss over it and say, oh, she was a thug, she doesn't deserve any empathy, and therefore forget about her son. And that's the world that we live in. Automatically devaluing the life of this black person. Right? Automatically proving the need for Black Lives Matter. Regardless of if this woman was just paranoid and had absolutely no reason to be afraid of the police officers and everything was wrong on her part, your rush to judgment and to dismiss the human tragedy and to dismiss the trauma of this child ultimately proves the damn point in the first place that we need Black Lives Matter. That's all I got to say about that. I feel like, all right, let me move on. As I get more information, I'll report on it more. But right now, it's just a loss, and it's a tragic loss. I do have something else to say. So people were tweeting me a picture of different white people who had been killed by police and saying, do you know their name? Do you know this person's name, right? Because there was a campaign to say her name, and unfortunately, when people are killed, we create hashtags. That's what we do, right? We create hashtags, and we want to know, do people, to remember their name, not to forget their name. And so this morning, as I'm specifically talking about the son, because I don't know what happened with the mother, but I do know what happened with the son. He lost his mother and he saw it happen. People are using white victims as props to try to say, oh, you're only concerned about black people. No, I'm concerned about the human tragedy. And it seems to be too frequent that the human tragedy falls on the black side of the equation. But I did know the names of those white people that you threw my. I did know the name of Dylan Noble. I did know the names of the different people they threw my way to say, oh, are you concerned about white people? But that's besides the point. The point is, if those lives really matter to you, you would not use them as props, and you would not only mention their names as an opportunity to silence and to be used as props against black people. These people running around, I'm going to say this every time we have this conversation, and unfortunately, it seems like we're going to have this conversation on a regular basis in this damn country, right? But the only time white lives matter to white people is when they can be used to some of these white people, these conservatives, because every single one of them that came into my timeline and came into my presence today was a Donald damn Trump supporter. I checked every single one of their timelines, right? So I can concretely conclude and state that the people who were using these white people who have been killed by police officers as props were conservatives coming into my timeline and only lifting them up. Only time I ever hear mention of a white person is of a white person being killed by police is when they are trying to use it to silence black people who are complaining about police killing black people. If they really matter to you, you would not use them as props. You would be out there protesting on their behalf. But instead, you don't protest on their behalf and you sit there and use them as props, which means their lives don't matter to you either. Blue lives don't matter to you. The only thing that matters to you is protecting this bigoted narrative that soothes your bigoted son of a bitch soul every single night. And anything that runs contrary to that narrative, you attack like a rabid dog. Because if the lives really matter to you, you would not use the lives of people who have been killed as props to silence. You would be marching with us and saying, yes, all lives matter. Yes, black lives matter. Yes, all these people who have died mattered, and not using them one over the other to try to silence the debate. Which goes to show you clearly all lives don't matter, because you have a vested interest in showing us time and time again and giving us the justification why you feel that we should not have any empathy for the black lives that have been taken. All right, that's all I'm going to say about that. All right, caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Hi, my name is Isha, and I was just reading a Twitter feed from a national security expert regarding Korryn Gaines. Mm-hmm. And I want to give two wonderful points, is that it almost offers a perfect laboratory of comparison of how cops react with black people versus white people when they're quote-unquote doing the same crime. JJ McNabb is an expert on domestic terrorism, and she noticed some things about Korryn Gaines' social media presence that made her conclude that Korryn Gaines was a sovereign citizen. Mm-hmm. So for those who are not familiar, yes, sovereign citizens are these anti-government anarchists who reject the authority of the United States. Yeah. And often there can be kind of, they're usually not dangerous. They're just kind of annoying because they end up tying the court system with like really ridiculous lawsuits for the most part. Okay. But with Korryn Gaines, there was a couple of things. When one of her videos that were pulled up a few months ago that she recorded, she had no license or registration, and then she recorded the entire traffic stop. And during the traffic stop, like, this is the one weird thing that sovereign citizens always mention, is like some UCC Section 203 provision that claims that the U.S. government like enslaves people. And so it is possible that so what I get from this is that it is possible that Korryn Gaines may have been armed in her home. But the issue is, you know who else are sovereign citizens? The people in the Oregon standoff. Look at what they did. They were like, it wasn't even in their own home. It was in public land that they occupied, and almost all of them came out alive. And Korryn Gaines was in her own home being a sovereign citizen, and she didn't come out alive.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. I mean, even if she was, thanks for the call, even if she was a sovereign citizen and, you know, which clearly adds to the paranoia, right? Let's throw that in there. You know, most sovereign citizens have this paranoid view of American government because they don't view the legitimacy. Now, I haven't followed that, but if that is the case, then the perfect comparison is the standoff, the Clive and Bundy standoff. And also the subsequent standoff where one of them were killed with the Clive and Bundy's sons. But here I want to give an update on some information I just got here. So in terms of the warrant, the reason they were there, the warrant for failing to appear in court on charges related to previous cases of disorderly conduct. The man, Kareem Courtney, who was 39, was wanted on an assault warrant, while the woman, Korryn Gaines, 23, was also wanted on a bench warrant for failing to appear in court to face an array of traffic charges, according to police. So they had an assault charge warrant on the man and a bench warrant for the woman. Once they, you know, again, how does it escalate to a tactical SWAT team being there and a standoff for what, so about 6 hours, six hours of a standoff? We still don't know. 857-600-0518. We'll get this caller and then we're going to switch stories. Caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Yes, me, Scotty.
Hey, how's it going on, man?
Nothing much. First, another sad story, police brutality. The only thing I'll say as far as, you know, how I view, and this is so hard because she had her 5-year-old son with her, and I got a 4-year-old niece, and I love her like she was my own daughter. So even if the police that came for me, I would not endanger her like the way she did in that example. But they did not have to kill her. You know, it reminds me, just like you said, that part of this is the big sense of white supremacy and white privilege, because Dylan Roof, when he was captured, they gave him a fucking bulletproof vest. The Clive and Bundy. They didn't do anything to them. And I'm glad that they didn't do anything to those people.
Right.
It's like, you know that this woman has a child. Do anything you can to make sure that nothing endangers that child.
You know, here's my question, Scotty. Out of 6 hours, did they not attempt to bring a single mental health counselor? Did they not attempt to bring any of her relatives who could like help get the baby or help the standoff come? You know, what was done during 6 hours of a standoff that she ended up having to be killed, and that the baby was still in her arms, right? And I agree with you, man. Listen, I mean, and I'm going to say this, like, I don't know what mental condition she was working with, but she had to have been, because I'm sorry, my son, my daughter in my arms, I don't care what's going down. If I have an opportunity to get them to safety, the very first thing I'm going to do is get them to safety, unless she felt like putting the kid down was going to put him in more danger. I don't know, but that's in a sense, I think it's a psychosis, because it just doesn't make sense to me. My only thing I would be saying, you know, is let me call somebody for my son. Let me call my grandmother his grandmother. Let me call my neighbor. Hell, let me call my barber. You know, anybody. Let me get somebody who I trust to come get my son, and then we can do this dance. But she wasn't saying that. And so everyone's saying, well, she's using him as a shield. No, that's not an example of somebody using their son as a shield. That's an example of somebody who has a psychosis going on, thinking that if they put this child down, because you can hear in the videos that she loves this child, right? but she feels that in some way if she puts a child down that they're going to kill the child or something. So something was going on there. And my question is, if they could not observe that out of 6 hours and realize we need to either get a negotiator in here, we need to get her parents in here, get her damn aunt in here, or a counselor to somebody come get this child, so at a minimum the child doesn't have to witness his mother getting killed. I can let you get the last word, Scotty.
Yeah, it's just depressing, and when we talk about these examples, as I just said, Dylan Roof, Bundy,
Yep.
they did not kill those people.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad that they didn't, but at least treat everybody the same.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
And those, hey, thanks for the call, man. And those examples that you gave are not like apples to apples. Those examples are she shot her gun, right? But I have plenty of examples of white people who have shot their guns and still alive today to tell about it directly at police officers. So even though the examples you gave me aren't apples to apples, there are unfortunately too many examples of patience not being extended to everyone the same way. All right. I see you guys have a lot to say, so let me get this. This is the last caller on this topic. Caller, what's your name, comment, and or question? And do me a favor and cut down your internet, what you're listening to. Okay, you're not listening to me via your phone. You're listening via the radio. So I'm gonna have to circle. Are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Hello.
Oh, okay. Do me a favor and turn down your internet or your radio.
Okay, I'm sorry.
All right, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Yes, you're speaking to a vigilante United States Navy. Hoorah! This is Reverend L, Fire Service Navy. I want to share something with you I find so disturbing. I'm a father of 5,
Yep.
and I've served the nation for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the most disturbing thing. I've made my own discoveries, and I have a concern for the entire safety of all citizens in America. One thing I've learned from active duty while serving in the Navy is we've had rules of engagement.
Yep.
Okay. And what I've learned here is I've learned that the government here, both the local, state,
Yep.
and of course the federal,
Yep.
have had this crisis to deal with for more than at least 200 years. The right to carry a weapon, that's
Okay. I think I lost you. It sounded like it was going to be good. So, all right. 857-600-0518. You can call back in when you get your signal back, and we'll discuss it a little bit more. All right. I want to move on because otherwise we can literally be here on this topic all day because it's that all encompassing. I want to talk about Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. So much to talk about these two people. The main thing about Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. One, and I didn't download this video. But President Obama was on the screen today and basically at a press conference talking about Donald Trump not being fit for office. And when it was a competition between he and John McCain, and the competition between he and Mitt Romney, he never once doubted whether the two of those Republicans were capable of doing the job. But basically, we have to ask the question: Is Donald Trump? President Obama is asking the question if Donald Trump was actually capable of doing the job. And that conversation, it's a funny conversation, right? You know, it's like a Donald Trump is so insane. We don't even know if he's competent and fit to be able to do the job. But it's also a conversation that pisses me the hell off because in a lot of ways, the Republican Party has put up a candidate so utterly ridiculous that they have given Hillary Clinton and the Democrats a free pass to not talk about their policies, not to have a debate on their policies, not to have a rigorous public conversation about what each of these candidates stand for. The only conversations we're having right now is Donald Trump actually mentally stable? Is he emotionally stable? Will he destabilize the international order? Will he cause a nuclear, fallout because of how ridiculous he is and how quick he is with a short temper and small hands? We have these ridiculous conversations, and I get it. Donald Trump is a buffoon. Let's go down the list. Donald Trump is a Neanderthal. He's a buffoon. He's a narcissist. What do you want me to say? He's insane. He caters to white nationalists. He caters to racists and xenophobes. He is the scum of the earth. He's worse than the phlegm that fell on Ted Cruz's mouth and he ate inside of the debate. That's how disgusting Donald Trump is. Now what? Because if we're not going to have conversations about the substance of the two-party policies, platforms, and policies, then all we're doing is we're beyond throwing mud. And that's what aggravated me about President Obama's speech today. Not that he was wrong. It's the fact that he was right. And that we have so many people in America who are willing to risk America on a person like Donald Trump that we can't even have a conversation. Now, whether you like Hillary Clinton or not, whether you think Hillary Clinton is the devil or not, whatever you think about Hillary Clinton, the one thing you could say is that Hillary Clinton is more mentally stable than Donald Trump at a bare minimum. And so where we could be having a rigorous debate over the policies that I personally disagree with Hillary Clinton on, all we could do is look at how ridiculous and how utterly disgusting Donald Trump is. And that doesn't benefit Democrats. It doesn't benefit Republicans. It doesn't benefit independents. All it benefits is the 24-hour news cycle. That's it. So with that being said, coming out of the Democratic National Convention, Hillary Clinton saw a bump. We're going to talk about this bump and we're going to unpack it a little bit because according to the average of polls, the Real Clear average of polls, there's a bump of about 4.5%, showing that Hillary Clinton really had a swing. Last week, she was down against Donald Trump. This week, she's up against Donald Trump, had a tremendous swing. Now, here's the problem. One of the polls, the CNN poll, did not report data from millennials. And that particular poll had Hillary Clinton up by, I could have sworn I changed this image, by 9 points. That particular poll had Hillary Clinton up by 9 points. And, so the question is whether or not the absence of millennials inside of their polling data was sufficient to cause a tremendously different amount, a statistically different amount, right? Spread. Would the presence of millennials in the CNN poll cause her to not be winning by 9 points, but let's say 5 points or 4 points, or would it have been so detrimental that it would have put Donald Trump in the lead? So I'm digging into why they did not include millennials, ages 18 to 34, and the only thing that really came up as an explanation, and I'm gonna give it to you, and you can make your decision for yourself, was basically they threw it out because it had too large of a sample error. And this is in the explanation for the CNN poll data. Basically, error caused by looking at an unrepresentative group. So the conclusion by CNN was that the millennial data had to be removed due to its outlier qualities. Here's the problem. Well, it's a matter of people being able to trust these polls, and how useful is that particular poll if it can't even measure in ages 18 to 34 millennials. And now, because it was 9 points, I believe the next closest was 8 points, right? So would removing that actually reduce the polling, the bounce that Hillary Clinton got, right? So right now she's ahead by 4.5%. But as we started considering that, like if we take CNN out, would that cause an increase in Donald Trump's performance? We actually start looking at the polling data overall, and you see something that's kind of interesting. In a race like this, against a person like Donald Trump, who is most assuredly the most ridiculous candidate that we've seen in our lifetime, you would expect Hillary Clinton to be beating Donald Trump by like 20 points at this point, or at least 10 points at this point, right? But right now, she's barely beating him at about 4 points. Now, 4 points is a win. 4.4 points is a win. She would win if it was held today. But I think it should be scary to America to think that anybody, Hillary Clinton, I don't care, Bernie Sanders, whoever you take your pick. What's the other guy? Martin O'Malley could only be beating Donald Trump by about 4 points. So the question really is, what's going on here in the data? Why is it that Donald Trump is so close? As ridiculous as everyone knows Donald Trump is, why is Donald Trump so damn close to Hillary Clinton? Now, the obvious low-hanging fruit that I go to right away is that Hillary Clinton is just a weak candidate, and that people just really hate Hillary Clinton, and that she's the absolute worst person that the Democratic Party could have run. And I'm not going to dismiss that, but that's not necessarily the whole case, right? If you look at the polling data, one particular model says that this could be the result of this being more of a base election, right? So that Donald Trump is in this, and he's in this so close to the Democratic opponent that it's really a product of his base, compared to Hillary Clinton, which is a product of her polarized. I don't want to say base here, but Hillary Clinton has a polarized support group that would never support Donald Trump. On the flip side, Donald Trump is galvanizing a large enough coalition that would never support Hillary Clinton. And so now we have an election of competing bases. But if you dig underneath that concept a little more, if you think about Hillary Clinton doesn't really have her base. Hillary Clinton is appealing to, she's actually moving away from her base. Hillary Clinton is moving away from progressives, the far left, the socialists, and she's moving away from the working class whites in her base. And she's going straight down the middle, trying to get Republicans, trying to pick off people who think Donald Trump is so unreasonable. But on the flip side, you have Donald Trump, who solidly has his base. He doesn't have his party, but he has his base. And if this is if this is an election about turnout, and this is an election about whose base is going to show up at the polls, looking at how close this election is, that should be scary. That should be scary for a lot of reasons, because Hillary Clinton, yes, she has the Democratic Party, but Hillary Clinton does not have the base. And she's counting on picking off and plucking away enough Republicans to solidify her voting base, minus the progressives, minus the socialists, minus the white working class that she doesn't want anymore. So too long didn't read. The long and short of it is, she's counting on getting Republicans. When the data and looking at the polls, this seems like it is a base election, which means the base of the Republican Party is not coming to Hillary Clinton. And the question is, can she get enough of party leaders, enough of moderate Republicans to actually beat Donald Trump? I don't know that that's the case. I don't know that that's the case, because if you look at it, Donald Trump is in this. Donald Trump should not be in this. If Hillary Clinton had a coalition strong enough at this point, this is polling data, we're within 100 days. It might change a lot more, but everybody knows who Donald Trump is at this point. Everybody knows who Hillary Clinton is at this point. There's not enough negative mud that they can sling on Donald Trump that hasn't already been slung. And for Donald Trump to just be 5 points, 4.5 points away from Hillary Clinton, and Hillary Clinton playing a game trying to get not her base. She's not trying to rally her base. She's trying to siphon off Republicans. But the Republican side is saying, we do not want you. We don't want Hillary Clinton. We hate Hillary Clinton so much, we would rather go with Donald Trump. The sum total of it is a really dangerous election that's coming up. And this is nothing new. It's just amazing that even after this DNC bump, this boost that she got, Donald Trump is still in the election. He's still in the running. And I laugh at, I'm laughing at people like CNN and different commentators who last week, this was their line last week. They said Hillary Clinton is down by 0.2 points in the average of polls, but everyone is looking at this one poll that says that Donald Trump is beating her by 7 points, right? And which is a good point, right? If the average of polls says that Hillary Clinton is only down by 0.2 points, why would you go out and point out and say, "Ooh, look at this one individual poll that says she's up by that Donald Trump is winning by 7 points"? Why? Because of propaganda. That same group that complained about that last week, they're looking at the polls today, and they're not telling you that Hillary Clinton is only up by, on the real clear average of polls, by 4.4 points. They're telling you, oh, Hillary Clinton is thrashing Donald Trump by 9 points, which is a single poll, which is the CNN poll, which doesn't even have millennials in it. All right. So here's the other question, talking about Donald Trump. Who the hell is voting for Donald Trump? This is a genuine question. Now, again, I would rather be talking about policy and the disagreements that I have with Hillary Clinton on her economic and her foreign policy. But and I want you to think about this. If this election was held today and Donald Trump loses or wins by 1 point, by 2 points, that means that there is a large enough contingency in America that appeals to Donald Trump appeals to, for him to either win by a little margin or lose by a little margin. And as much as I disagree with Hillary Clinton, what scares me more is not Donald Trump, but the number of people in America who buy into his insanity. And you could dismiss that. That's fine. Go for it. But when I see people and I see the type of people and I see the type of attitude and I see the type of bigotry and I see the endless depth of their bigotry, I mean, it is not something that we can ignore. You don't have to be terrified of it. Doesn't mean you have to vote for Hillary Clinton, but it also doesn't mean that we should ignore the reality that half of America honestly thinks that Donald Trump is a legitimate choice. And in reality, we really have to question, is he even stable? And what's scariest about this is, take Donald Trump off the table. 4 years from now, this party could double down on stupid and go even further and find somebody even worse. Because the Republican Party is no longer under control. They are completely shattered. They are broken. Donald Trump broke it, and Donald Trump now runs it. Matter of fact, with Paul Ryan today, Donald Trump has already said that he's not quite prepared to endorse Paul Ryan or John McCain in their primary, in their races. So this is a party that's run by a madman. And I really want to open up the lines to anyone who doesn't think that Donald Trump is a madman. Now, nobody's going to give you a better critique of Hillary Clinton than me. But at the same damn time, that does not mean that we can afford to be silent on the insanity that comes from Donald Trump and his supporters. I can't. You know why? Because every person that made it their life's mission today to disregard the life of Korryn Gaines and to disregard the life of her son and just completely dismiss their humanity, every single one I checked was a Donald Trump supporter. Yes, that's anecdotal, but it can be applied on so many different levels. So we are stuck between. I mean, if you believe like me, we're stuck between a rock and a worse place, right? But I can't honestly. So who's voting for Donald Trump? Because according to the data, Donald Trump, that Hillary Clinton is now outperforming Donald Trump with white educated college grads. Mitt Romney, let me see if I can recall this data real quick. So Mitt Romney actually beat this group, beat President Obama in 2012, 51 to 47%, with white educated, white people with a bachelor's degree. And at this point, Donald Trump is now losing to Hillary Clinton in that group. So now you don't have the white educated people, but you do have people making over $72,000 a year. You have people with the national average, the median income is about $50,000 a year. So you have these people are wealthy, but not necessarily college educated. I'm just trying to get a picture of who these people are. And actually, I don't even have to do it. Somebody already did it for me. Who said this? I think it was, I want to say from The Daily Show, the new guy on The Daily Show. He said that basically the Donald Trump supporters are all Joe the Plumbers. If you remember Joe the Plumber from the 2008 election, where he was an independent contractor business owner, not exactly the most intelligent, but he started a business that helps him make enough money to make above the median income in America. And they make all this money and they're upset because of the taxes they have to pay to the government. And yet they don't trust the government, but they're appealing to the government and they want to make America great again. This is the kind of the caricature. And this is actually what it fits into. This is the dynamic that it fits into, ultimately leading to the question of who's going to be left after this election for the Republican Party, because they don't have the white college graduated voter anymore. That's going to Hillary Clinton. I mean, all you have left, I mean, what does that leave you with? It was already a lily white party. I think the African-American vote is like 1% with the GOP. I mean, they're losing amongst Hispanics. I mean, they're losing in but this is a major party. This is not a third party. This is one half of our broken two-party system now is losing and hemorrhaging their educated base, and all that's left are basically Joe's the plumber, whatever the plural would be. This is fascinating to me because I believe that and I've been saying it for the long time. I've been saying it since last summer. Go look at the videos from last summer. This is a realignment election. Because on the one side, you have Hillary Clinton completely abandoning the progressive base, trying to appeal to the Republicans. And she's doing so to particularly that middle, that college graduate white voter. She's winning that now. Mitt Romney was beating President Obama in that. She's winning that now. Hillary Clinton is winning that now. So she is plucking away that base, but it's not enough for her to be above Donald Trump in a significant, comfortable fashion. She's only up by 4.4%. It's so again, back to the fact that I think this is a realignment election because Hillary Clinton is pulling over the GOP officials, people who abandoned the party. She's pulling over GOP. She's bringing over former. They're either not voting, they're not publicly endorsing, or they're coming over to Hillary Clinton. So she's getting the former GOP party players, which is changing the dynamic of it's going right into what I think the DLC always wanted to be. It's changing the dynamic of the Democratic Party, shedding the progressive base. And on the far right, you have a Republican Party who's losing all of their educated voters, who's losing all of their women, right? Not by a much larger percentage, but they're losing women now. And they're losing Hispanics. They've always lost African American. Who's left on the right? If the leadership and the aristocracy of the Republican Party is all going to Democrats, we're going to end up with one national party that is credible. We're going to end up with a neoliberal globalist party where progressives are shut out and right-wing conservatives are shut out. And you're going to have one party. And it could go in so many different ways, but in a lot of ways, we're seeing a realignment. And it's brought to us in part by Donald Trump and how ridiculous he is and how he has broken the GOP and how we're now at a place where we're at a place where the only thing left in the GOP are really going to be the people who believe Donald Trump is a viable candidate. And you actually have to sit down and question what are their what is their mindset? What are they honestly thinking? Do they just want us? If you just want to see the world burn, I get it. But you cannot look at me with a straight face and say that you believe that Donald Trump has what it takes to not cause chaos in our global system. You probably believe that a global system is broken and that the role that America plays in it is broken. I get that. But there's a difference between having a broken system and having a system that's full of chaos. And I just don't see anyone being able to argue to me that you could look at Donald Trump and see him as a rational actor that should be the leader of the free world. All right, let's take some calls on that. I'm giving you guys plenty to chew on there. Caller, you're live on the air. What is your name, comment, and or question?
Hey, man, this is Patrick Blanc from Miramar, Florida calling.
Patrick, what's going on, man? What's on your mind?
I'm doing all right. I'm very glad to hear you bring this topic up because I'm shocked at how many Democrats do not realize that Trump isn't a one-off.
No.
What I mean by that is that, to me, this is the first of successive elections we're going to have. We're going to have lesser of two evils. Because even everyone's saying we have to vote to stop Trump, which I agree. I don't want to see Trump get the presidency. Mm-hmm. But even if we're successful, and I grant you that, all those voters who voted for Trump aren't just going to disappear.
Exactly.
They're not going anywhere. So they're not going to self-moderate and say, you know what, we went too far this time. Let's bring it back towards the center or bring it back towards the center-right. They're going to elect someone comparable. I don't know if it's Cruz, I don't know, but it's going to be someone of that ilk. So they're going to do that. And
I don't mean to cut you off, Patrick, but that's if Donald Trump loses, right? Imagine if Donald Trump wins.
Right. I'm giving you the best case scenario. He's losing. I'm sure how the best case scenario really isn't even that great of a scenario for the future of our country. Because even if Trump loses and Hillary Clinton wins, and they nominate someone else, and we have to choose lesser of two evils, I fear that the Republicans are going to constantly elect someone very far-wing, and it's going to give almost a perpetual
victory
cover for the Democrats in perpetuity. This is going to be a neoliberalism over and over, and I genuinely, I mean this with all sincerity, being hyperbolic, I don't know how to break that cycle.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, Republicans, their extreme nature isn't going anywhere. So I genuinely don't know how to break this cycle.
But I
think
that's
my call to comment on YouTube.
Yeah, man, that's a great observation. I like that because that's the problem I have with this, right? The Republicans have given us a candidate that is so ridiculous that, I mean, we can't not talk about him. When we talk about him, we can't talk about policy and policy positions, and we can't talk about the absurdity of the tax code. We actually are required to talk about, is this person sane? Is he coherent? And that does give cover to the Democrats in perpetuity. If Republicans keep doing this, they are going to keep, and this goes back to something George W. Bush said. George W. Bush said that he fears that this is going to be that he was the last Republican president of his lifetime. That gives the Democratic Party a blank pass to do whatever they want. And this is what I said. I've said this many times. It's bad enough we only have two parties. We cannot have one viable party and one insane party. If we don't have two viable parties, we're not even capable of having policy conversations. All we could talk about is how insane the other ones are. And let's be real. The motherfuckers are insane. Like, some of the stuff they're proposing to do, whether they can accomplish it or not, the things that are in their platform, they are insane. And it would be a shame on us not to see them as an equal. If you think Hillary Clinton and her neoliberalism and her neocon foreign policy is a threat, it would be a shame, and a shame on you, to not see Donald Trump as an equal threat, because he is equally neoliberal, he is an equally neoconservative, and mainly because he is incoherent and doesn't have any policies of his own other than "I just want power," which translates into somebody else is going to be writing his policy, somebody else is going to be writing his economic platform, somebody else is going to be leading the charge on his foreign policy, and we're going to get some of this. So you cannot look at one. If you don't want to choose between the lesser of two evils, you have to at least identify them as equal evils, because unless you're going to come on here and try to convince me, and I'm waiting on that phone call for somebody to try to convince me why Donald Trump would actually be better than Hillary Clinton. Caller, you're live on the air. I guess we might go into a little overtime. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Yes, again, this is Reverend Al. I called earlier and we got disconnected.
Yeah, I lost your audio. What's on your mind, man?
Yes, okay. When it comes to the defenders of all citizens,
I honestly,
I would say,
there you go. I got you back.
Yeah, I would say at least 70% of the citizens primarily agree with some things he's going to bring to the table. He's economically prepared. However, I disagree with a lot of things he's supporting. But we as America, we're overdue. You know, we need to be, tied up and put that yoke around our neck, if you know what I'm saying. We need someone that's a little more aggressive, financially stable. It's unfortunate that Hillary Clinton doesn't have the most prestigious background when it comes to economics. Trump is going to do it,
Oh, okay. Okay, hang on. Let's unpack that. So okay, I didn't, because you broke up at the beginning and I wasn't quite sure who you were talking about. But you honestly believe that Donald Trump is going to be better on economic policy?
Yes. He would be absolutely better economically.
What's the basis?
Economics.
What's the basis of that observation?
Look at the majority. You share some information, some data, and that is about the economics of America. Hillary Clinton, she may have gained the support of, yes, the college graduates, those that have a bachelor's degree making about $72,000 or more. However, Donald Trump is capturing the audience first of both lower, middle, and high class. And I've noticed this. In fact, I drive around town, and what do I see? Every Donald Trump supporter has that little sticker on the back of their vehicle.
What town are you in?
I'm in Georgia.
Georgia. Well, that makes a lot of sense. No, let me leave Georgia alone. I love Georgia. Georgia's a great state. But I want to go back to what you're saying in terms of economic policy now. What is the basis? You still didn't answer that. Like, you made a really strong position there, that because my argument is that Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump probably are going to operate the same economically. They're both neoliberals. Donald Trump is a little more isolationist, but ultimately Donald Trump, his businesses benefit too much from globalism. So he's not going to roll back globalization just to appease people who are looking for a more isolationist approach. So to me, I feel like they're going to ultimately be the same economically, except with the exception of some occasional trade wars, right? Donald Trump will probably lunge us into a few trade wars, but ultimately he's not going to do anything that's going to harm his businesses, and his businesses do benefit from a globalized economy. So I have to come back to the same question. What is the basis of you saying that Donald Trump would be better for the economy than Hillary Clinton?
Okay, his background is, he's already linked up with Russia. Okay, he's linked up with Europe, other foreign nations. The record speaks for itself. America in itself was founded, not just upon all Americans, but English, France.
And you're breaking up again. I don't know if you're in it might be that Georgia connection. But he took a stab at it, so I appreciate him taking a stab at it. But does anyone else have an argument for why Donald Trump, because I've seen some old Bernie Sanders supporters, they've gone full Donald Trump supporters. So I really want to know who in the audience honestly believes that Donald Trump is the lesser of two evils against Hillary Clinton. That's something I want to know. But more importantly than that, and we might have to get out of here because I'm already out of time. It's just what Patrick Blanc said is the truest thing about it, is that there are a lot of people who buy into Donald Trump. They're not going anywhere. And if they're not going anywhere, they're going to keep doubling down on the type of candidate that they put up. And if they keep putting up the same type of rabidly ridiculous conservative as Donald Trump, that's going to keep giving a pass to the Democratic Party to not even have to discuss policy. We're not on a single conversation are we discussing policy. It's all about how ridiculous Donald Trump is. The problem is he is ridiculous, and we can't ignore the fact that he is so absurd, and we can't dismiss the fact that he has a very large following. But if that's all we focus on, then we're stuck in this trap over and over, and this vicious cycle over and over again. All right. Yeah, I'll take this last caller, and then I have to take. We have to end the show. Caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment,
This me, Ben?
This is you. You're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and/or question? This is you.
And I'm afraid there's no way I can argue that Donald Trump is not a crazy person.
Exactly. That's the problem.
But by what you're saying, by what Hillary is doing, and this is pretty much from the beginning and the way the DNC was run, and the way she's ignoring the very base that she's going to require to actually win. And there's a video channel called About Charisma where they talk about, well, the guy says he bet $1,000 that Donald Trump will win. But he was talking about how Donald Trump has run his campaign. And as every single time people are dismissive of him, they're forgetting he seems to be running I don't know, it's like an apprentice thing. I think he did turn this thing into a reality show. But the point here is Hillary isn't doing what's needed.
Exactly.
She thinks that she's going to grab that spill-off Republican thing, and that's going to help her, while Donald Trump is going to, it's like now she doesn't have name recognition. Donald Trump has
even
just
more.
as much.
Yeah. Yep.
And what's going to kill me is that your analysis of her ignoring the base that she requires. It's going to be an incredible show. I'm sorry. Even if I decide to vote for her, and I'm saying I'm undecided on, I think they're both bad. But even if I decided to, I think she's going to lose. And when she loses, they're going to turn around and go, you Bernie supporters did it. We're going to be like, yeah, but she didn't do what it took to.
Right.
She's not inspiring. This is my argument when people go, you got to vote. What's wrong with this apathy? Because there's no inspiration.
Yeah.
The Republicans won all those seats last time because the Democrats refused to inspire their base. The Republicans inspired their base left and right. The Democrats were running from their base.
Yep.
So I'm like,
that's the problem.
This is what Obama's election proved. If you inspire, you get voters.
Absolutely.
If you don't inspire, they're not going to come out. And you can't go, well, if you don't vote, you are just giving in. No, I'm sorry. In my opinion, not voting is a message.
Yeah. And that's the problem, Umar, right?
I'm leaving it at that.
No, I mean, hey, I appreciate the call, man, because you really summarized everything that I'm saying. The problem is that looking at how close the polls are right now, it really looks like this is a base election. And everyone in the middle who would normally be a moderate trying to decide which candidate, kind of undecided, everyone in the middle is kind of like, I don't like either one of them. So if you have as large, and this is proved out by the data, right? Both of them have unfavorables. Like these are the two most disliked candidates, I think, definitely in my lifetime, probably in a generation or two. Which means the broader mass of America would rather someone else. And when you have the broader mass of America who would rather someone else, it ultimately becomes a base election. Donald Trump doesn't have the Republican Party. He has the base. He has a Republican base, and he's strongholding the Republican Party. Hillary Clinton owns the Democratic Party, lock and parcel. It's hers, but she does not have her base, not the left, not the people who would normally help shore up her win. In a base election like that, Donald Trump wins, and that's scary. That's scarier to me. It doesn't have to be for you, but it's scarier for me. But I'm in Massachusetts, so it doesn't matter. I can vote for my conscience. And so I feel bad for you who are in those swing states, man. You guys have a and you know what? Tomorrow, I think I'm going to go ahead and spill the beans. Like, I think everybody at this point knows what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you why I'm voting for Jill Stein, but I don't really like, I'm not really voting for her because I want her to win. So I'll unpack that tomorrow, because this is how twisted this election is, right? I can't, for me, like, I have to vote based on what I believe, because it's the same thing I'm encouraging you to do, to vote based on what you believe. But I honestly believe this election is so screwed up. Our choices are so screwed that at the point, we're choosing between a madman who is unstable. We're choosing between a career politician who is not necessarily going to be, who's not going to be good on foreign policy for brown people across the world, who's economically I disagree with. And then we have third party choices who I pretty much agree with like 99% of what they stand for, but they don't stand a chance in hell of winning. So I'll unpack that. Maybe I think I'm gonna write the article. I'm in Massachusetts, so I can vote my conscience. All right? So I'm gonna vote for Jill Stein in Massachusetts. All right, that's my privilege. You in Georgia? Are you in give me a swing state, because my mind is fried. West Virginia is a swing state now. Or is it Virginia? Virginia, not West Virginia. Virginia is a swing state. Good luck, Virginia. Good luck, Florida. Good luck, Ohio. You have my condolences. I'm going to leave you guys with this as we get ready to get out of here. I have a whole lot of videos of James Baldwin, who was born today in 1924. He would be 92 today. But I want to play a clip of James Baldwin discussing America's role in the international community. I want you to hear him out as we get ready to go, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
That we are not bombing people out of existence in the name of freedom. If it were freedom we were concerned about, then long, long ago we would have done something about Johannesburg, South Africa. If we were concerned with freedom, boys and girls would not, as I stand here, be perishing in the streets of Harlem. We are concerned with power, nothing more than that. And most unluckily for the Western world, it has consolidated its power on the backs of people who are now going to die rather than be used any longer. In short, the economic arrangements of the Western world proved to be too expensive for most of the world. And the Western world will change these arrangements. All these arrangements will be changed for them.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog, join the Progressive Army, and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. It's Ben Dixon! If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Consider becoming a Patreon. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
That from a very literal point of view, the harbors and the ports and the railroads of the country, the economy, especially of the southern states, could not conceivably be what it has become if they had not had, and do not still have indeed, and for so long, so many generations, cheap labor. I am stating very seriously, and this is not an overstatement, that I picked the cotton, and I carried it to market, and I built the railroads under someone else's whip for nothing. For nothing. The Southern oligarchy which has until today so much power in Washington, and therefore some power in the world, was created by my labor and my sweat, and the violation of my women and the murder of my children. This, in the land of the free and the home of the brave. And no one can challenge that statement. It is a matter of historical record.